Hello, David Paul here. I am in Portugal here, and at the minute I'm in a place called the Panela Centre, which is just a very modest shopping centre with a few shops in it. Optician, clothes shop there, and a small supermarket, and this place that deals in I don't know what, stationery and toys and stuff like that. So this has turned out to be very useful to me, and it's very easy to get to from my house because I now have I've got the system sorted of working the buses, and I don't know what age you have to be, maybe 60, but you start to get a discount. Hard to stay on the camera here. Let's try and straighten that up. You get a discount on the buses. So it's very, very cheap. It's only $1.30 to come here. So I could come here if I wanted to every single day. And there's a library in Panela, I can go to that. And it's my library because there's never anybody in it. There's a sort of mentality here in Portugal of providing for the people. So they provide things for people. Whether that service gets used or not, I don't know. But there is a kindly attitude towards their citizenry, which is good. You might say it's socialist. I'm not entirely sure the basis of that is socialism. I think it's possibly more rooted in Christianity. So I wanted to talk about something, an idea that came to mind, because I follow a lot of things online about people who are wanting to move to other countries, get visas for this, that or the other. And I follow a channel called Nomad Capitalist. Now that's directed towards people with lots of money. And I don't have lots of money, as you know. In the UK, I'm basically homeless, living in an airframe in the forest. But here, I have my house. And in the Philippines, I have the potential of building a house. I have land. And I've got my partner, Christina, who's got land. We could build a house easily. Owning a house in the Philippines, to construct the thing, is peanuts if you do it my way, which is the Bahay Kubo wood or bamboo construction sort of way. So recently there's been a lot of controversy about the changing immigration rules for people who want to come and live in Portugal, and in particular for obtaining citizenship. Now, Portugal has had a rule of having a 5-year residency before you can apply for citizenship. And that seems rather good. But the problem with that is that then people who want to live in the European Union, what they do is they use Portugal as a conduit for that purpose. And they're not really trying to live in Portugal. I don't want to live in the European Union. If the European Union disconnects itself from Portugal, I don't give a toss. It's about Portugal, the UK and the Philippines for me, certainly at the minute. We never know. I mean, you might find another country that you also like. But, I'm in love with this place. And this is a very desirable place for British people because of the history, the long history with the UK. So, I have this idea. What happened was I sent my girlfriend down to Manila to try and obtain a visa for a vacation in Portugal. And she went down and she was refused a visa. So this is a Filipina coming to Portugal and going to the application in Manila. So that was kind of exploratory on my part because I had to find out how the system worked, and then I had to get feedback on the failure and find out what was going on there. So I now have that figured out, and I now also have figured out the options that are available to me. So she got turned down, and the questions that were being asked related primarily to her relationship to me. So what they're not wanting, what they really don't want to do, is they don't want to bring people into Portugal or the European Union who then become dependent on the system, become illegal immigrants, do all kinds of stuff like that. Although personally I think bringing Filipinos in would be very advantageous for the European Union. They would get workers who would be culturally assimilatable into your society, but that's for them to decide. But anyway, she got turned down. So it seems to me that the issue is, was this man that you're going to go and spend the 3 months with, is he a resident in Portugal? Is he your husband? What's the relationship with you, and so on? And it seems to me that it would have been a walk in the park if I had A, been a resident, and B, being her husband. So let's take that forward and become the husband and also become the resident. And also, on top of all of this, I've made inquiries about, personally, before I ever met her, I've made personal inquiries at the embassies there are 2 sort of places in London that you can talk to people. I've made inquiries there about how I could become a resident here, the D7 process. And it turns out that I got to get an interview. Well, the interviews are almost impossible. It's so backed up. And then I got to get approved and so on. It's on and on. And it's more and more complications. So that even for myself, there's a lot of complication there. And I can function in Portugal so easy. I'm well ahead of the curve in terms of income requirement, because I'm exactly on the equivalence of an American retiring somewhere on what they call Social Security. So that would be about $2,000 a month, or £1,500 in UK money, which is way ahead of what I need here. And on top of that, I don't have any bills. I don't have any electric bills, water bills. Council tax is €40 a year. So everything is just fine. And it's just the bureaucratic rigmarole that I have to put myself through to get into the system. Well, I decided, and in addition to this, as you know, I've spent time in the UK trying to get work teaching, and it's nothing against me. I mean, I have been teaching in the UK, but there's just not any work there. It's because of the condition of the economy. When the economy is bad, teachers hunker down and they don't move jobs, and they don't create waves which generates work for people like me. So what you do is you ignore all that and you come back later when the economy kicks off and when you can get work. You know, when in the good times there is work. So I have to accept the fact that this year I'm not going to get any meaningful work in the UK. So I have to accept the fact that the projects I'm trying to do, I cannot move forward because of the absence of the work. I cannot move forward at the pace I might want them to go. Well, it just so happens that my ex-wife is now sending me money in lieu of money that we would receive on the sale of land that we have in the Philippines. So that's transformed the situation. So I'm in the position of being in Portugal and having the income or the capital to be able to do jobs. And so now things can move forward, but things can only move forward at the pace that my body will tolerate with the physical work. But never mind, we'll make great progress this visit this year. So, going back to nomad capitalists, what they say is that you can have lives in different countries. So you can have multiple residences. You can live in different parts of the world. Now, it's also it's complicated with children, but there are ways to get around that. So that's for rich people. But then I think to myself, well, yes, it's for rich people, but is it possible for people on lower incomes to do this? So how can you live in Portugal without having to go through all the rigmarole of the immigration process and everything? Well, prior to Brexit, I could have just got on a plane and got here, and that would have been it, and registered myself as here. After Brexit, I realised something. I realised, we do have a right of residency in Portugal. You can live in Portugal, but what you can't do is you can't live here all the time. But is that necessarily so bad? You have a 90-day allowance here, and I'm having a great time here. It's good, and it would be better if I'd come 1 month later. But never mind, the weather hasn't been good, but it's starting to break up now and turn to proper summer. But I have this great 90 days, and after the 90 days, I have to leave the country. But 90 days is a substantial amount of time. And unless you're a criminal or something like that, like Interpol are on your case or something, there's absolutely no reason why you just can't get on a plane and come here, and you are in reality living here. Except, and this is not good for the Portuguese, but good for us, you don't fall into their tax system, you don't fall into anything, you are just a free agent, you just do what you like. So okay, the 90 days comes up and it terminates, but then the weather's starting to turn a bit bad, you're starting to move into autumnal weather and it's starting to rain and it's not either. So if you're like in the nomad capitalist model, living in 3 places, which I'm forced to live in 3 places because I have family that I've got to visit in the UK. So Andrew Henderson on Nomad Capitalist says you can realistically, practically live in 3 places. Okay, so you got 3 homes. And in my case, that's the UK, Portugal, and the Philippines. So what about if I just clear off to the Philippines? And what does it entail to live in the Philippines, right? Can you easily live in the Philippines? Yes. What you basically do is you get on an airplane, you fly to the Philippines, and you have a 30-day visa-free period. But you can, at the moment of arrival, you can go off to the immigration department in your town. I'm not sure about that at the airport. I'm gonna try that. But you can go and you can get like 1 month or 2 month visa extensions, and I have online seen that you can get 6 months visa extensions. So I did the calculations on this, and I have done this. I've lived in the Philippines on visa extensions. So you go to the Philippines and you get your visa extensions, and the question would be like, well, what's this going to cost you? What is it going to cost you? Well, it's going to cost you 20 £27 in English money per month. In US dollars, that would be about $40 a month. So in other words, what you're doing is you're renting the Philippines for $40 or £27 a month, just short of $40 a month. You're renting the whole country. What's that mean? Well, it means that you're in the country and you can say, well, I fancy going to Iloilo, or I'd like to go to Davao, or, oh, I tell you what, I'll go to Palawan. Get on a flight and go there and just enjoy the country. And it's costing you just £27 a month. So stay your time there, your 3 months, and then come back, or don't. Come back next year to Portugal and bounce around like that. And then I started pushing, like, how much, what can I do about the flights, minimizing the flights? Well, what you do is you fly at the off-peak times, and ideally, if you're, say, doing 3 places, what you do is you book your ticket going to the next place. So you don't go from A to B and then back to A, and then A to C, and then back to A. You just go A, B, C, A, B, C, round in a circle. And that cuts out one flight. So that's making things cheaper. And you also optimize, if you want to move materials around the world, you optimize where you're going to be moving things on the free baggage allowance that you got. So, for example, you might want to move things to the Philippines that aren't available there, but I would strongly advise that you don't bring anything to Portugal, unless it's particular clothes or something. But everything is available in Portugal. You just have to learn and eventually know where they are. But the primary sources of things are clothes would be Decathlon and anything you need, like a bicycle or whatever, and Leroy Merlin or Leroy Merlin in most major cities here. So you move your materials around with your baggage, and you optimize your flights, and you go around in a circle. Now, whilst you're doing this, you're still officially a resident of your base country, which in my case is the UK, and you can avail yourself of the services and whatever is available in that country, because you haven't expatriated, you haven't signed up to an official emigration process. And in my case, the optimum country for obtaining work and anything like that, and buying things or anything that you think of, is the UK. But for actually living there, it's not good because it's very expensive. That's why I live in a thing in the forest, and I absolutely minimize my expenses while I'm in the UK. So my suggestion would be that anybody, if you want to live in Portugal or even the Philippines, is to go around, go there, check it out, live there for a while, and do these visa extension tickets. Now, I have a problem because I've got a Filipino family, I have family in the UK, and I have this house which I love in Portugal, and I have a lot of potential in Portugal. I've always wanted to have a place where I could have a workshop and I could have some land to do things and so on, and I could, bang and crash around big lumps of wood and do all sorts. And I wanted a place where people would leave you alone while you did that. And lo and behold, in Portugal, the one key thing I would say about the society here is everybody just leaves you alone. Unless I ran down the street with a machete attacking people, they would just leave you alone here. So it's a great place to be here. In the Philippines, there's a lot of restriction because you have difficulty buying land and you have to rent a house, and then you're going to be restricted on what you can do there and so on. But here you can buy cheap property, you can buy cheap land, you can do all sorts of things here. And in particular, I want to build a boat here, which there is abundantly available wood, which you don't have in the Philippines. So just look at the optimum thing for each country that you choose. So in my plan is to just stabilize everything, and I will be spending the 90 days. I'm a little bit through it. I'm not, I don't know, just past a quarter of the way through my allowance here. I've been here 3 weeks, I think. And so I've got somewhere like about 2 months left. Spend your time here, and then go to the next thing and do what you're going to do there and come here. Now, because I've got this multiple faceted life, even if I wanted to get off the roundabout, which I don't, I'm having a ball, you know. I speak in different languages and stuff. It's fun, it's stimulating to me. It's what the ADHD brain craves. So I'm not intending to get off that roundabout. So I particularly have to maintain things here in Portugal, because this is where I own things, and I own some land in the Philippines, and I've got things I'm constructing in the Philippines, but I'm not doing stuff in the UK. I'm not constructing anything other than that little A-frame thing, but that's a disposable thing, a temporary accommodation. So I came up with a cunning plan, and the idea is this. You can apply, especially if you have a Filipino wife, you can apply for immigration to the UK and a retirement visa there. In my case, it's a retirement visa. So I can go and live in the Philippines, and I'm not restricted to not having a business or anything like that. Don't have a hope in hell in getting a job, and I don't want one. But, you know, I can do all of that. And the rules of the game are that once you've got that visa, that immigration visa, so you're now an immigrant to the Philippines, they don't impose time residence limitations on you, or at least I can't see much of it. And if there is any, well, you're not supposed to leave the country for like 5 years solid. Well, hell's bells, I'm not going to do that, you know. I'm going to be back and forwards like a yo-yo, so there's no chance I'm not going to be in the Philippines for 5 years. There's an annual fee of $300 US, but you've got, in addition to all of that, you do have to deposit, if you're not married to a Filipina, which I will be. If you're not married to a Filipino, you've got to put $10,000 in a bank, right? So they're not wanting you to wash up on the system and become a problem to them. But then you can clear off and you can do what you like and run around the world and shoot back to the Philippines, come and go as you wish. You're basically behaving like a citizen, which is what a citizen can do. Now, going back to Portugal, if you take the residence deal here, you are required to be here for 6 months and 1 day a year on that D7 visa. But honestly, I'm burning these 3 months, and I can optimize it such that I get the absolute perfect 6 months out of the year to be here. So that would be May, June, July, August, September, October would be your best time here. And then the rest of the time is pretty crappy weather, and you don't really necessarily want to be here. You can clear off somewhere sunnier. So the restricted thing is Portugal, but I can satisfy their requirements, and then I have a free hand with the Philippines. Now, if I pull this off, I'm kind of laughing all the way at the bank. I've really scored. But what's the worst that can happen? The worst that can happen is the situation I've set up now, temporarily, which is I'm going to spend 8 months in the Philippines, 3 months in Portugal, and just 1 month in the UK. And the time in the UK will be borderline to September. So we're looking at all of August leading up to September. And so you're at the start of September when you're due to depart. And then you can check out with agents and see if there's any work. In my case, teaching work. If there is, I can hang around a little bit longer and get some of that work. Otherwise, back off to the Philippines. So that is the worst possible scenario. And, you know, I wanted everything to be my way. Everybody wants everything to just turn out great for them. But, like, is it so bad that you spend 3 glorious months in Portugal, and they will get better because I'll come to a point where I'm not doing so much work. You know, I'm not having to build a house, I'll be living in a lovely house. But you do your 3 months work, you do your 3 months in Portugal, and you have a great time here, and I can go sailing, I can bring my boat down, and then I go off to the UK, and I have the month of August, and that's glorious, lovely summer weather. And I'm back to the Philippines for 8 months. So if I just never get this fixed, and the system just never, the Red Sea never parts on my behalf, and that's the worst possible situation I end up in, well, that's a pretty damn good deal. Now, on top of all of this, something wonderful happened, which is something absolutely amazing, which is the guy who was buying my boat back, you'll see that on my channel, the Galleon 22, which was the inspiration for the TV program Howard's Way. It was owned by the director, creator, and writer of the series Howard's Way. Well, that there boat, this boat that I just love, I had to sell it, we needed money. Well, I'm buying it back, and I'm halfway through and I'm really struggling. And I haven't been in touch with him for a while because I couldn't get through to him. And I got my ex-wife to contact him. What the hell she said to him, I don't know. She must have applied the Filipino charm. But the guy agreed to let me have the boat and just waive the remaining fee. So we're looking at about £1,500 that I don't have to pay. And I've now got a yacht. So I've got my yacht back, and I've got to fix up the rigging to something more suitable for me. And I'm absolutely in a position now where I can actually even live on the yacht in the UK and sail it off somewhere. Well, the original plan is to bring it to Portugal, and I'm going to bring it to Portugal and I'm going to see how I feel when I get down here. And then I'm going to decide what I do next with that yacht, because man, that would be some useful tool to have in the Philippines. But whether it's worth, it's not a big yacht, whether it's worth actually sailing down there or not, I don't know. And whether that's a difficult job, I don't know, because it's down to me, it's my endurance. The boat is well capable of the task. It's whether I'm capable of the task. You know, you can get thrown around in the sea and you vomit your insides out for a few days, and then you're in a safety situation because you're getting dehydrated and stuff. So can I do that or can I not? I don't know. So to be determined. So all in all, everything is going great for me. And I'm finding materials here in Portugal for the house at cheaper costs. I'm finding methods of getting stuff moved around, transport. My friend Keith is coming here in the next 2 days. He will be giving me a hand with various things. And I'm also, because the Portuguese has got, my speaking of Portuguese, has got so much better, I'm actually, I'm getting a more positive response from Portuguese people when I go in and I inquire about things I need. So I'm getting a better response there. And I'm also finding more stuff because they understand what I'm looking for more. And, you know, the picture is sort of becoming clear to them what's needed. And I'm starting to locate wood. Primarily it's wood. There's so much wood down here, but it's getting people to sell it to you. So I'm getting that. And so everything is just working out. And I'm saving money. You know, I have plans for jobs, and I think, oh, this is going to cost this amount. And then all of a sudden, the expenses of what I was trying to do just wipe away. I don't need to do that anymore. And then I think my way through problems, and I think myself into a situation where I can say, I don't need to do that. What I thought I needed to do, I don't need to do. And it goes on and on and on and on, and just gets cheaper and cheaper and cheaper and cheaper all the time. So it's all getting easier. And because I'm not teaching, nobody owns my ass, you know, and I don't have to attend to that, then I can concentrate on what I'm trying to do. But anyway, in summary, consider this idea of temporarily just living in a multiple place and accepting what you're given by life and enjoying that. Because, you know, eventually it will come good for you. And unless you're a criminal or something like that, there's no reason why you will be refused visas and stuff. And it'll work out. So just go with the flow. So that's it. So you know where I'm going and what I'm doing and what you could do. So as you see in the next few days, as the tiny house inside the house starts to get worked on and completed, you'll see that you could do this. Because honestly, nothing I've done has been done on a fancy budget. It's been a struggle all the way down, but it's a question of just breaking it down into little modular bits, break the task down into small pieces, what needs to be done to move you forward. And then all of a sudden, you'll find it starts to rush, because once you have a usable house that you can live in, it starts to, you know, life starts to get better. I have some ideas about the roof, which are suddenly going to make it cheaper, I think. We'll see. Anyway, I think I've said everything here now. So consider this nomad methodology, what I call it, the hokey-cokey life, in, out. And you might actually find you like it. So, atilago, makita tayo sakana. See you later. Jesus be with you.